Condos.
Yes.
Don't we love condos these days?
Oh, do agents and buyers love condos these days?
Boy.
We have, it's an interesting set of circumstances with condos.
Yes, and that's kind of what I want to talk about, because people, there's a lot of, when there's a lot of information out there, there's always a lot of correct information and a lot of incorrect information.
Right.
And the incorrect information, for whatever reason, seems to get amplified.
Right.
Because it's more sensational and it's more. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't some, very sensational stuff going on in condos right now, but from your perspective as a lender, and let me give you my perspective as a realtor first to set the condo communities are living, breathing organisms, and every one of them is different, just like people. Right. Just in the Palm Beach County market, you can go from the spectrum of this condo community is in wonderful shape. Their condo fees aren't astronomically high because they weren't astronomically low before, and they've been fiscally responsible, and they've kept up with maintenance, and they've done all the right things. To the other side of the spectrum was these guys, they were paying $200 for 30 years, and they haven't fixed a damn thing in 30 years. And my God, this is like getting ready to implode, right? That's my perspective, and that's, I think, accurate enough to a point.
Right.
But in general terms, condo lending has become a little more problematic, has it not? Because of the overall. Again, I'm going to use Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae just to make it a small box, but because of the feeling of the large government entities that tend to be the drivers of that. Is that accurate?
It is accurate, but when you stop and think about it, if the agents that are listening, what I would say to you is it's really simple to get ahead of it. When you're going to list a condominium, you want to request the master insurance policy, you want to get a condo questionnaire form filled out, and you want to retrieve the budget. And all you have to do is have a lender review it so you know what offer to accept.
Well, there you go. So and that was the way I was going to segue into you, is that the first thing that I tell my agents is, hey, let's run that past Matt, or we do have other lenders that we use, although Matt is our primary guy. But let's run it past Matt's team and let's find out what the reality is before we just take a guess at it and throw it out there.
Correct.
Because that's what happens.
It starts at the listing.
Yes, it starts at the listing.
So if we just stem that, we look at the symptoms or the challenge of lending. Mm-hmm. The disease is the association.
No, I agree.
So if we look at the disease first, then we can know how to handle the symptoms.
Right, but nipping it in the bud is the easiest way to nip it in the bud is for listing agents, and we do have to, I guess, now separate agents. The agents are listing these things to actually go to the actual source,
correct,
and say what is the actual truth,
and what's the down payment requirement,
and what's all get all that stuff. Are we 25%? Are we before putting it for sale, right? Because on the other side, because again, Chyla one day when she decides to buy her condo with me or whatever she does, I'm going to have to go now and go, okay, let me research, because I'm just going to say straight out, I don't trust that listing agent necessarily to have all their facts straight. So then I'm going to go, okay, well, what am I going to do? Oh, hey, Matt, she's thinking about buying this.
Correct.
Run it for me, right?
Correct.
So, but that just becomes another part of the process of what a buyer's agent's going to have to do, or needs to, should do, for seller. And now that it is kind of written out that is part of the responsibility, we'll see how that actually works in fact. But so now, let's say that I have one of these condos that they've paid $200 for 30 years, and they haven't fixed a damn thing. Is there a possible lender solution from a mainstream lender outside of hard money, outside of whatever like that? Is there any world where that even fits into your box?
Meaning that they didn't pass their certification?
Well, they haven't passed their certification. Well, maybe not to say that, but let's just say that they don't have their reserves suck because now they're assessing everybody and trying to get everything, because that's really the bigger. That's again, we're talking about root causes or symptoms and whatever. So, but let's just say that let's say they've gotten their assessment. Mm-hmm. It's passed to whatever the minimum standards are, but their reserves are crap.
Okay.
Is there a world where that fits with you, or is there an option that you? Okay.
Absolutely.
And what would that option
typically
be?
like on a primary residence?
Yes.
25% down would avoid the need for condo review.
Right.
In terms of financials, now you can break those loans into two and get up to 90%, which is just 10% down.
Okay.
So there's other alternatives.
Okay.
If it's completely a non-conforming non-conventional condominium association, this portfolio lending that we have that can cater to that too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much talking about non-conforming. I mean, you know, it's but you do have a venue for that.
Oh yeah,
right. Yeah. Okay, and that, you know, and it's, I'm kind of, you know, tooting Matt's horn here. I mean, you know, he has a lot of tools in his toolbox, and that's one of the reasons. And you know, this also comes down to one of the things that we've kind of continuously talked about on, and this is going to, I don't even know which channel this is going to be on. I think this will be on both of them, but continuously talked about is that, you know, one of the reasons that I formed a team was, and I didn't, I mean, honestly, everybody just came to me as far as the actual agents, and then that's where that team came from. But I learned very early on that partnering with the professionals in the industry that do their thing, that have that do it very well and have the most tools in their box, is a great way for me to pass on value to my customers. Because if you don't have those relationships and you don't know where to find those people, you can get lost very quickly in this business. You know, that goes right down to attorneys, CPAs, lenders,
insurance,
everything. I mean, and one of my, well, I was going to make a specific example. We have insurance, you know, inspection companies, credible inspection companies. There's some that are more credible than others. But I built a large portion of my business on probate. I came up from auctions in a completely different world. But you know, probate. And it's an unfortunate fact, but in South Florida, that probate is there's a lot of probate that goes on in Florida because people come in to retire. And once that started happening, I thought, well, if that's the case, then I need to make sure that if I have a question about whatever, then I know who to turn to. That was my segue into that. Calculating seller proceeds, and this is tangential to what you do, because seller proceeds is where the rubber hits the road on all the other stuff we've been talking about.
Right.
When, as a lender, how can you help me? Is there a way that you can help me with my sellers to express, okay, this is what your proceeds look like, and maybe if we do certain things with our lender, maybe we can enhance that amount or the viability of selling your home and all that sort of stuff, because that's kind of changed too. We used to always do the, let's get them pre-approved by Matt thing, or which is sort of a separate issue. Is there anything that you can do for me as a listing agent to help me communicate value to my sellers? I guess that's a question I've been meaning to ask for a long time. And I don't know why it took me so long to actually ask that question. But I don't know if you can or not. Can you?
Well, when you think about what sellers want, some of the most important factors, number one is certainty.
Yes.
Right? They want to know that when they sign that contract, it's going to close and fund successfully.
True.
So having short contingency timeframes, as you know, is critically important in the process.
Yeah.
As you know, we issue 5-day loan approvals, both FHA and conventional, in scale. We promote the fact of our agents matching a 5-day inspection period to that. So that gives a seller a hard contract day 6. In my opinion, I think that's really strong for a seller. The second part to that, if we're talking about net proceeds specifically, that's their second most important factor from our studies. It's all about understanding your side of what your value is in terms of a listing agent, and then putting it on the open market and having the understanding that I personally would coach a seller today of wanting to accept or wanting to see every single offer and not capping it based on compensation. So, for example, I know a lot of agents would call a listing agent today and say, how much is your seller willing to offer? And the listing agent says 2.5%. Let's just use that as an example. You see, why would you cap your audience?
If they pay 3, I'll come show it.
But watch. Why would you cap your audience? Ready for it? I'm the listing agent. Someone asked me, Matt, what are you offering for compensation? What do you want? What do you have with an agreement with your buyer? 3.5%. Great. Write up an offer and we'll either accept or counter.
Yeah, and I understand that.
See, that's the part that I don't understand, why that's being confused by the agent community.
Well, so it's always been confused by the agent community. Here's part of the reason why. The agent community has always been a very say it the right way. In my opinion, the majority of the agent community has always led with fear. Their fear, not the seller's fear or the buyer. It's always been their fear. When I first started in this industry, what I thought was fear wasn't necessarily fear. It was just a palpable nervousness of not knowing what I was Pardon my French. We'll probably bleep that because Matt's on the show.
No,
keep it in.
I can handle it.
But it's been my experience that when an agent is talking to you, Matt, they are very fearful of you saying one thing to them. What is that thing, Matt?
Oh, denied?
No. I'm talking about you as a person or child. If I'm trying to make you my customer, what do I not want to hear? No.
We don't hear no.
Right.
No.
So most agents are contextualizing the whole thing, and I'm talking about even someone that's been in a long time, about how do I keep this guy from saying no.
Right.
Whether that's on the seller side, buyer side, or whatever. I think that if we put it in, and what you're saying leads into that, because if we put it into a box of, how about we just say, what can we do to best help our customer versus what can we do to best, not have somebody say no to us, or, whatever, what our best interests are, because then all of a sudden you go, oh, all of a sudden I'm actually doing good and I'm making money because I'm doing the job the right way.
Yeah.
But to answer your question is because most agents are still in that fear box, and they don't.
And it's also changing the muscle. The behavior pattern was asking a listing agent what you're offering to them.
Right, rather than what you're bringing to them.
That's right.
No, I agree. And that, again, that's going to be a sea change, and we'll see how that works out in the broader picture of who it helps and who it hurts. And again, like I said, I think that from my perspective, I love it. I love the change. I think it's more, that's great. I think there's more things we could do, and I don't think we really, got to the root issue of what the problem in the real estate industry is as far as agents go, but it's helpful. But I do like that. Now, I will say that you said all the things that I already know and I already kind of lead with when I talk to my customers. What I meant to ask, maybe I put it in a little different way, is there, because we've evolved so much, and you're always coming up with things, and I look at everything you send, but then I only register with so much. If I were to come to you and say, Mr. Weaver, Andrew Burr, I'm a listing agent, which I'm not. I'm a listing and a buying agent, because I don't think you can do one or the other without doing both,
right?
Or at least not well. Mr. Matt Weaver, what if I'm going to sit down with Chala and have a conversation with her to sell her house?
Right.
All right. Is there something that you can offer me that I can relate to her that helps me win that listing? Now, you answered it kind of, but you answered it more on the, I think it's more on the buyer side is where you answered it with the, because that's winning the offer, winning the deal. It does help the seller. But is there something that?
So we have two different strategies for listing agents in today's market. Mm-hmm. We have the Ultimate Listing Tool, which the Ultimate Listing Tool is designed for agents to pre-appraise their listing inventory, so they know where that property truly sits from an appraisal standpoint, because in fairness to agents, they can only get so far with a CMA.
Yeah.
And if we start with an appraised value, we all do know in today's market, it's not unusual to get a hair below appraised value in today's market.
Correct.
Which means you now have additional funds for either seller concessions or agent compensation to attract more buyer agents. Mm-hmm. So Ultimate Listing Tool is one of them. The second value proposition we have for listing agents is called Sell Like the Builders, where agents can promote their listings with temporary mortgage rate buy downs or just mortgage rate buy downs as a whole. And we have a whole program where we share in the cost with the seller. So we reduce the cost and enhance their listing by having below market interest or below market payments and below market interest rates.
And how is that going to now? We've already got this. We're lowering the rates, so the rates don't matter anymore. Is that right?
I haven't met a buyer that says it's too low.
Right. I got you. Okay. I just wanted to contextualize that. All right. And that is something that that I'm very interested in. And the reality is that in the seller's market, in the robust seller's market that we had, you didn't really need that.
These two were worthless.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all of it was worthless because you didn't really even. That's great. It goes right down to a home warranty. Is a home warranty, as a seller offering a home warranty, a value? Right. Well, when you can just sell the house, just decide one day to sell your house, not even take your clothes off the floor and sell it. No. Right. But as it becomes more difficult and more normal, which I mean, a normal market is a difficult market to sell in. That's just the bottom line. It's just what it is. It's not bread and circuses, right?
Right.
And so But I do think that that is a nice value add tool. You did mention the appraisal part, and so you're going to pay for the appraisal of my customer's home, or how are we?
No, we negotiated a fee, which is a reduced cost for the agent. So compliantly, the agent can pay for it, or the seller.
Wonderful.
But it's only $275.
I'll pay that every day to help me establish a value that's realistic, because that's also a big part of the problem. Has been a big part of the problem with these fluctuating markets, and it was the last time too. It's like you said, there's a CMA value, and then there's the bank's value, and the bank's value. And I'm not expecting you to answer this question. I think it changes on how much how much lending is going on, and sort of the direction that the lenders give the appraisers in general. And they don't go to an appraiser and say, make it a little looser or whatever. But I think that does
they have the sales contract.
It does get broadcast. So the bottom line is that I think that's a wonderful, wonderful idea, and I'm glad you brought it up, because it's something that I actually have my team meetings every Thursday, and that's one of the things we're going to go over in the team meeting tomorrow. Is listen. It's a very small price to pay for certainty, or more certainty, right? And in a market like this, where everything is very uncertain because everything is all over the place, and this is out of my pocket too. This is not. I'm not telling the seller, hey, you need to, This is something that I am more than happy to, because I want to be able to go with 100% confidence to Chalo and go, hey, this is, I think, where we're at. And listen, I think we might be able to get this, but I want to be realistic. We got the appraisal. The appraisal, can we still get you that? Yes. Is it going to be more difficult? Yes. Is there, how are we going to, so that you actually know how that process is going to work?
It's a great tool to bring into the listing presentation.
Particularly if you're working with, quote unquote, trophy property. Right. So, but that's a whole other story. But if you have a trophy property, or you think you do, call me and I'll let you know if it is, and then we'll go through this whole process. So this isn't Hot Wings, but it's kind of a Sean Evans thing. And we, since you came on, we'd love to give you the opportunity to kind of tell the customers, whatever you want to tell them. So he usually has this camera, this camera, this camera. We only have 3. We don't have 5. They're not all behind you and in front of you. But let the viewing audience know whatever you'd like to let them know, if there's something in particular you think is important.
Oh, I think it's important if you're considering buying today. I mean, I think your timing makes a whole lot of sense. I mean, we are, for the first time, in a interest rate environment that's actually going down. So it's a good time to consider making your plans today, as opposed to, 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now. Try and get ahead of perhaps whatever spike we could see in terms of home buyer interest. If you're a seller, I think it's a great time too, because watch, if you consider this, as we continue to see rates down, by the time Andrew can get your property up, get it up for sale and so on, it could be a few weeks out. So getting ahead of that makes a whole lot of sense. Whether you're looking to upgrade or downsize, I think overall our world, our economy, our real estate economy is going to be in for a great market. They're going to be, we're going to say, changing monetary policy to influence that. So no better time than today. And for all you buyer agents out there and all the agents out there, we thank you for your support from the Matt Weaver team. These changes, look at them from a positive perspective. I think you can do really well, and I think the buyers and the sellers will do equally as well.
Yeah, I agree. And to add to your point, right now, bottom line is we're in a buyer's market. Yeah. And now we're fiscally getting into a buyer's market, right? I think that in itself will promote a large amount of transactions again. The same thing we saw before. We've done these ups and downs before. And then what's going to happen is that we're going to probably turn right very quickly back into a balanced market. I don't think we're going to jump into a seller's market again. I don't think it'll be as much of a buyer's market. I think we'll go back into a balanced market, which is probably the healthiest thing for real estate in general and for people in general, because when you're doing this, nobody likes that, right?
Likes it.
If we can get back to some normality, which I think we will, I think the coming months we'll see that. I think that's good for everybody, and I do agree with you. And my saying, going back to the start of your pitch there, was I've always maintained, and anytime anybody has ever asked me this question, when is the best time to sell my home, or when is the best time to purchase a home? When it's the right time for you, when you need to, when you want to, because if you wait for change, you could be waiting forever.
Oh yeah.
Right. So, and I actually know, I've got several people who's now are in the middle of leases that they re-signed that are now going, oh my God, can you help me get out of this lease? And I'm like, no, I told you before that this was probably going to happen, but unfortunately that's outside of my context. But if you wait too long, change will inevitably pass you by every single time.
Every single time.
All right, Matt, thank you very much for coming on.
You, sir.
Chala, as always, thank you so much for being on point, and we will see you guys next time we see you here on either the Andrew Berg Group YouTube channel or Living in South Florida Does Not Suck. Have a great one. Hey guys, thank you for tuning into Living in South Florida Does Not Suck. Please do subscribe with the notification bell on. If you liked today's guest, you can also get more information about them right here. Like magic, it will appear. Anyways, we love having you here. We love having your friends here. Shout it out from the rooftops. Like us on Facebook. Share it with your friends. We'll see you soon here in beautiful, sunny South Florida.